So as always, thank you so much to Karen and um, to Eric for, the creativity. We always want to keep it changing up. Um, but thank you to both of you, and thank you to the rest of you for joining us today. And if this is your first time joining, it's always like this. So, so we're just gonna figure it out as we go along. I have to make it up as we go along. I don't have anything else. That's the best kind of like skill to develop right now. It's like you just have to figure shit out on the spot. It's like, unfortunately, like that's what resiliency is. It's like you figure the shit out, you know? Um, letting go of plans, letting go of agendas, like letting go of this fixation about the future, which is, of course, very difficult. Absolutely, I get that. But like at some point, you have to figure out what's happening right now in this moment and tend to that because that is what's creating the conditions for the future, right? You know. Um, so I love the spontaneity, I love the fluidity. Um, and this is what we do in our practice, right? I know the camera's out of focus as well, so I'm gonna get that back into focus as well. Let's put that right there, and there we go. Um, so you got everything's on the website. Join me. We have lots of stuff coming up, and we have something very, 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 very special that we just booked for this fall in November in the Bay Area. Um, we can't say anything about it right now, but it is booked and ready. So all you who are out in the Bay Area, San Francisco, Berkeley, Oakland, Richmond, all those places out there, come, we'll get those details out when we get the rest of the tiny other details situated. So I'm excited. And I'm excited about the programs this weekend. So I hope you can join me for those programs as well. And much more. There's so much happening. There's so many things that are just about ready to launch. And I'm just excited for it. It's exhausting, but I'm excited. This is, this is it. We have to start figuring out what our plan is for the future, right? Um, like how are we organizing? How are we forming communities? Like, how are we, you know, doing mutual aid? How are we, supporting one another? How are we getting together and making sure that people maybe on your block, on your street, in your apartment building, how do you take responsibility and make sure people have what they need? Because that's the future, you know. So we need to have a plan, and I'm all about that. Let's talk, yes, let's think about the future, but let's do the planning right now. Let's start creating and building and planting what we want to see in the future right now in this moment. This is what we're doing in our practice in Medicine Buddha as well. It may not even feel as if for those of you who have been doing this for a while with me, or just been practicing Medicine Buddha, in general that, maybe it doesn't feel like anything's happening. Maybe it doesn't feel like healing is happening or people's lives are shifting, but something is happening, right? And this is when we have to stay really like committed to our practice, really faithful. We have to keep showing up to each second of this practice because that's where the real liberation is beginning to happen, right? Just to be here on the seats, right? As much as I can, be in my body, be with the breath, right? Be with the emotions and the thoughts that are arising for me, right? As much as possible, showing up to this phenomena, right, in real time, right? That's how we begin to get free, right? Because when we show up in real time, we begin to develop the capacity to make different choices in how we are in a relationship to what's arising, right? And you can't figure that out if you're always avoiding everything. If you're always avoiding this moment, if you're always avoiding the anxiety and the fear and the terror and all of that, if you're always avoiding it, like you're gonna always be running away from it. It's like it's gonna be like the boogeyman in the closet, you know? And you're gonna be afraid to walk past the closet because you're gonna be afraid that the boogeyman's gonna jump out and scare you. You know, this isn't what we're practicing fearlessness and courage. We're practicing audacity. We're practicing, well, sassiness, if we want to go there, we're getting sassy, right? But for me, it's really about practicing this generosity. This is really just about generosity, my generosity, and how do I begin to let go and give up the things that I no longer need, the things that no longer serve me, and how do I begin to offer all of this unnecessary shit at the feet of the Buddhas, of the deities, at the feet of the ancestors, right? How do I let go of all this persistent worrying and just offer this energy to my beings or my network of beings around me, as we often do in the Seven Homecomings practice, which is what we'll be, getting into this weekend, you know, right? Like you have to put your team, your like benefactors to work, right? I think that's the next phase of the Seven Homecomings practice is like, how do I actually start really asking for what I need and challenging my team to meet those needs, right? How can I get audacious? I need to be healed. I need this to happen, right? Instead of maybe passively saying, well, I hope this can come about. I hope I can get, this land, or I hope I can get, this, whatever it is. Like, just like, how do you say, no, I need this, and let's organize, right? And let your benefactors organize on your behalf to bring about what you most need, right? Even if it's also for others, for the well-being of others, right? Um, so feeling that, maybe we should bring some of that energy into our practice now, that like audacity, like this, I want this to happen. Like I need this to happen. And how do you concentrate that energy into just like making something come about, right? Um, and then, it may possibly be that what we most want to see may not happen, but I have a faith that if I come into practice with liberatory intentions, that whatever happens is what needs to happen. You know, sometimes what we want to happen isn't exactly what needs to happen. And that's what begins to kind of align in our practice, that like our needs and wants begin to come into relationship, and sometimes it's like, oh, you realize this thing that I thought I wanted, and even what I thought I needed, I actually don't. And then there's a space that opens up for us to see, to experience what actually is needed for that to arise and to be present with us. You know, um, there's a lot of trust here, right? And trust is, and of course, trust is the root of faith. But there's a lot of trust here, and I don't. It's hard for me to see and experience what I need to see and experience in my life if it wasn't for trust and the faith that arises from trust, right? Trust in myself, trust in my deeper, pure intentions around wanting to be of benefit to people, trust in my ancestors, right? Trust in the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, trust maybe in my community, right? Trust in my beloveds, you know. As Adrienne Marie Brown says, people don't, I would actually expand it from people to being. So I would say beings don't become trustworthy until you start trusting them, right? You know, Adrienne said that she's always evoking my name in her teaching, so I'm going to return the favor. Right? Which is one of my favorite teachings from emergent strategy, is that like people don't become trustworthy until you begin to trust them. And I'm like, okay, and that's a risk. So that means that like this is also about taking risks, right? And you won't see the growth in your practice until you start taking risks. Yeah, and some of those risks may end up with you just falling flat, and there you go. It's one risk after the other to get free, right? So let's begin. My camera keeps going in and out. Um, so let's start. Let's get into some of this practice. And of course, if you're new, all the instructions will appear in the chat. All the mantras, the prayer requests, go ahead and make sure you put the prayer request in as well as we're getting started. So you'll be ready when I get there. Okay. And I also read something really powerful today too, from an astrologer who said that if you can experience any kind of stillness or peace, even if for a couple of moments right now, given the state of the world, then that is evidence that you are being held by very powerful beings. And I think that aligns so closely with, the practice of seven homecomings as protection, as a container that like we rely on these beings, including Medicine Buddha, to open up space and to protect space for us to experience healing. Healing needs space, right? And this is, I think, one of the primary blessings of Medicine Buddha is that the space can slowly open for us to come back into balance, right? Come back into the real belief in wholeness. We're already whole, right? But we need to start believing in that. And that's so much a part of the healing work that we're engaging in this practice is wholeness, right? To get free, we have to remember our wholeness. You can't get free in pieces, though we try, you know, like even the shadow has to be freed with everything, right? So when I talk about wholeness, I'm talking about both what excites me and the things that bring me joy about myself, and also the things that I still struggle with. You can still be whole and still struggle, right? You know? So when we talk about freedom, when we talk about liberation through healing, we're talking about remember our wholeness, right? That we're complete, right? And maybe we're needing to do some work to be in relationship to that completeness, right? Absolutely. Maybe that's where the struggle comes from, right? But the wholeness, right? And when we come, and I'll just say, I don't want to keep talking. I wasn't going to say anything, but like, I just feel like Um, I think we, I think, I think we expect healing to be more than what it really is. Um, I think, for me, healing, coming back into wholeness, or rather recognizing my innate wholeness, you know, um, has been very anticlimactic, if I can say that, right? I was like, oh, is this it? You know, where's the parade? Where's the party? Where's the cake? Look at all this work, but it's just very ordinary, right? All of this is so fucking ordinary. It gets confused as boredom. It's so ordinary, right? Like or it's just so common. Like it's so like, oh, is this it? Right? It's like when I say, I talk about being okay. Like when people ask me, oh, how are you? I'm like, okay. And then people go, well, shouldn't you be more than okay? And I'm like, do you know how hard it took for me to be okay? You know how many years it took for me to like honestly say, you know what, I'm okay. I'm balancing both the good and the bad right now. I'm right in the middle. Like I'm not sliding down that slope into hopelessness, nor am I actually being hoisted up into hope. I'm just right there, right? And that's a lot to be grateful for, you know? Like just to hold space, to be present, right? And that presentness, really that presentness, that experience of being okay is actually about beginning to tune into the emptiness of everything. Like if you're always looking for an event or like some spectacular occurrence in your practice, then like that's just called distraction. You want to be entertained. This is not what we're doing. We're not here to be entertained. You can go watch The Real Housewives, to get entertained, honey. You know, um, we're not here to get entertained. We're here to get free. Entertainment and freedom are two different things, two very different things, right? So if you want to get entertained, there's other places you can go. But like, we're here to get free, and sometimes getting free is real fucking boring and monotonous and grueling, sometimes extremely uneventful, but you're just here, right? And over time, you let go of this duality, this binary of wanting this and that. You just say, here it is, right? And all this desire, all of this, this grasping on to like experiences, all of that just begins to dissipate and you just become. And so therefore there's the transcendence beyond the binary of excitement and boring. You just transcend all of that into just being beyond, right? This is also the project of Buddhism, is to transcend the binary, transcend dualism into just being, right? And I know that's hard for us to fathom, right? Because we exist in binary, right? We exist in the dualism. But what we're talking about, when we talk about getting free, particularly this ultimate freedom, is about returning back to a remembrance that we just are, right? We are. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to be. There's no side to get on, right? There's no tomorrow. There's no now. There's no yesterday. It just is. It just is. That's non-linear arising. It just is. We're just trying to get back to being, really just being, right? And to embody that just being in the world right now by like learning just how to first and foremost just hold everything that arises, just let everything be, right? First, you let everything be. Secondly, you make a choice as to how you want to relate to what is being and arising, right? But you're trying to sidestep like holding space, because it's so difficult, because it's so disappointing, right? It's so disappointing to hold space for the moment as it arises because it's not what you want it to be. It's not what you expect because we're so interested in being entertained, you know? Let the boredom be there. Mhm. And that's how you get through very dry stretches of practice. It's just like, that's it. Like, everyone had to do this, including the Buddha, had to just fucking sit through it and just be like, you know what, I could be somewhere else. The Buddha was like, I could be back in my palace. I could be whatever, doing something different than sitting under a fucking tree, right? And starving myself to death. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you could have, right? But would we be here if he didn't make that choice, right? Who knows? Who knows, right? Um, the world's falling apart, but that shouldn't be the main headline in your practice. Of course, it's falling apart. you know, um, the Tibetan word for the world is literally translated is Zikten. It's literally translated as foundation falling apart. A destructible foundation. That's what the Tibetan word for the world is. Like, so there was no misunderstanding about the world and that kind of like spiritual paradigm. It's like, oh, this is like falling apart. Okay. So let's focus on practice. Let's focus on transcending, and returning back to something, to a more authentic, truer expression of what we are. Right. And this is the labor, this is the work that we're being called into right now, is to hold, right, and to respond, to witness, right, and to say, you know what, I am going to make a different choice now, a choice that does more than just repeat, and continue to replicate these same old ways of being that just produce more suffering, right, for myself and for others. That's the kind of healing that I'm hoping Medicine Buddha is enacting in your practice. Right? And some of us aren't ready for this. This is high level work, right? This is calling us into a deeper, even sometimes what feels like a more ambiguous relationship with the phenomenal world, right? It's calling us into a relationship with the intense grayness of everything. It's just like it's so gray, right? It's not just black and white, it's gray, right? And that's so uncomfortable for so many of us. We want things to be clear, right? But as you move through this, the only way to get clear is to hold whatever arises instead of always trying to work everything out as it comes or trying to figure what shit is as it comes. No, just let it be first. See it, experience it, then you make a choice as to how you want to be in a relationship with it. Maybe it needs to be let go of, eradicated, cut through, right? But you can't do that until you actually tend to it, to holding space for it, right? And letting that experience change. And not just change itself, but like change us. Like the phenomenal world is always trying to change us, but the phenomenal world and that change is actually just trying to remind us of what we are, but we're so resistant. You know, we think we're so inherently separate and autonomous, and that's not the case, you know. But anyway, I didn't mean to say any of that. And having said that, let's do the practice. So again, coming into a position that feels appropriate for you, letting the body, your body, be at ease. And what does ease mean for you? Right? How do we allow space for both comfort and discomfort to arise and just be there in our practice. And this is one of the most important acts of care for our bodies right now, is to allow our bodies to be in this moment, tending to our bodies, offering care to our bodies as needed. And you do this work, this settling of the body, not just for yourself, but for, for your ancestors, right? For your descendants. When I allow my body to be in space and to take up space, right? I am freeing so many of my ancestors from their own trauma of never feeling as if they had a right to take up space, or that their bodies weren't theirs to make these kinds of decisions for. Right. Now, it may seem very subtle, but this is actually extremely powerful, particularly for those of us coming who descend from enslaved people. Like what we're doing now is freeing so many of our ancestors from their trauma of believing that they always needed permission to tend to their bodies, that their bodies were never theirs. And so in this moment, recognizing, yes, that we all are in different positionalities and relationships with our bodies, but recognizing where you're at, just even thinking, reflecting, regardless of my relationship to this body, to this form, this is still my body, and I have a right to take up space. I have a right to take up space. My ancestors have a right to take up space. My descendants have a right to take up space, the space that is naturally ours to take up, the natural space of our bodies. You have a right to that, right? This is how much space my body needs. Therefore, I have a right to this. So even like in a really mental or psychic way, what does it feel like to just mentally or psychically or energetically, however you want to get into this, just expand, right? I would say the word relax. And sometimes you can get into that with a body scan, just moving through the body with awareness, letting go of tension and tightness, you know. And for many of us, this kind of somatic work, like we're just, at least for me, I know where I'm always clinging and shutting down and tense. So I always just go there first. But even now in this practice, what does it mean just to open, to expand physically? Right. Again, we're just experimenting right now. This isn't the main practice, but just to even inhale deeply through the nose. And then as you exhale out of the mouth, like feeling that expansion. You can call it relaxing, letting go in your practice. But a deeper practice here is to inhale through the nose and then imagine that you're exhaling out of every pore and opening in your body. as if air is just being released from everywhere. And as that air is released, we feel a little bit of like opening with the physical body. And that opening, as we, exhale out through the pores of our body, also that um, um, exhalation helps to expand our awareness into the space around us as well. So it's not just about where my body ends, but it can also become about where the rest of space begins. And that kind of practice is going to make things a little more vivid, right? There is just thoughts, emotions that are just going to become a little more energized, seemingly, but we're just paying attention to it. That's why it feels stronger. And the anxiety that so many of you are experiencing as well, just let it be there. Noticing that anxiety, right? Noticing where that anxiety is physically radiating, often in our hearts, right? The heartbeats, the heart center. Just letting it be there. Just noticing it, naming it. Right? Oh, that feels like anxiety. Oh, that's the physical experience of anxiety. But there are other things arising for us. There's just a few more breaths here. So when you're ready, inhaling again through the nose. As you exhale, allow the exhale to drop your attention all the way down to the seat. Noticing the rising of the seat, the weight of your body, feeling that anchor of the seat in the body. And beneath us, of course, is the earth. So the floor, even the seat are all just expressions of the earth. Even our bodies are expressions of the earth. Touching the earth like this. And touching the earth in the same way that we've been trying to touch our bodies, with just care, with intention. Our awareness is what's touching the earth, touching into the awakened consciousness of the earth, the land under us. Remembering the lands that we're living on and practicing on right now. Offering deep gratitude to the land, because there's no freedom without the earth. There's no liberation without land. There's no care without the land, without the earth. And that our bodies are extensions expressions of the land, and the land is an expression of our bodies. So that sacred connection, that profound, beautiful, intimate relationship with the land, that we are expressions of the land. The land is expressions of us. And how that connection can not only bring us into relationship with the consciousness of the earth, but also the consciousness of plants and of animals, of the elements, all the elements. Right? It's just as we do in our eco dharma work, recognizing, yes, the earth is my body, fire is the heat in my body, my solar plexus, the wind is my breath, water is everything that moves, that circulates through my body. So letting go of like thinking about the elements or thinking about the land, letting go of that and just being, right? Arising into this experience of how our bodies and the expressions of our bodies are just simply expressions of the natural world, particularly of the elemental world and elemental phenomena. I am the fire, I am the wind, I am the water, right? I am the earth, I am space, right? And we call upon the earth to ground, to hold, to neutralize everything that feels disrupting and unsettling. Call upon the fire to burn, right? To transform, to transmute suffering. Call upon the water to wash, to purify, right? To dissolve what gets in the way of wholeness. And call on wind and air just to blow the shit out the way, like blow it out the way. Very simple elemental magic here, just like calling on the energy of the elements, the consciousness of the elements through the body to get free. Just a few more moments here. Again, allowing the breath, particularly the out breath, to release, to let go of. So when some heavy, intense, thick energy starts to kind of arise, inhale into it, dissolve it, release it in the out breath. And again, just summoning, calling on the elemental energies of our bodies, and particularly calling these energies of the earth and allowing this energy of the earth to begin to assemble, to collect in the heart center, calling on the heat, the fire to assemble into the heart center, calling water to arise within the heart center, calling on air to gather into the heart center, and feeling or imagining even how these energies, these elements begin to mix together. And just when you think Captain Planet is about to arise, instead, behold, an expression of the Buddha within the heart center begins to awaken from the integration of these elements. And as Medicine Buddha awakens within the heart center, we turn our attention to this mantra of evoking or calling Medicine Buddha. Om Minla Sange Kino Soha. Medicine Buddha, please think of me, look upon me. However you want to translate Kino. Medicine Buddha, please think of me, remember me, gaze upon me. And we'll chant this 3 times, beginning with and then ending with And so we'll begin by inhaling. Om. Om la sange kino so Om la sange kino so Om la sange kino so Om. And we welcome Medicine Buddha right within our heart centers, taking on the form of whatever form feels appropriate for you as a direct expression of the iconic Medicine Buddha, or a representation or an archetype of the sacred healer that seems relevant for you. The point of this is to have this trust, regardless of what we feel or experience, that Medicine Buddha is indeed awakening within our heart centers, because Medicine Buddha is also an expression of what we are, as we are also expressions of Medicine Buddha. And of course, this Medicine Buddha in our heart centers begins to radiate with this warm, white, gentle light, this radiance. that begins to fill our bodies. And just really encouraging you to feel the gentleness. Let's be gentle. Let's do it nice and easy. We don't always have to do it rough. Right? Nice and easy. This is such an important part of practice. Just like let whatever is happening happen. Get out of the way, right? Get out of the way and just let Medicine Buddha radiate. So letting your practice work for you. Just let it be. And again, if you're not experiencing anything, just say, you know what, I'm not experiencing anything, but I'm going to try practicing trust that something's happening. Then we slowly begin to turn our attention to the main mantra, Tea Taum Baconse, Maha Baconse. Gracias Sumungate Soha in the chat. And of course, you can chant along or just listen. We'll begin. O te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma begenze, razum gate soa. Te anda begenze, begenze, ma Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa Teada Om Begense Begense Ma Begense Lasse Sumungate Soa. Just turning my attention to the prayer requests. And again, we invite into the space all the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the Yidams, the Dharma protectors, all beings of light, all benevolent ancestors, all the protectors and guardians and spirits of the lands and the elements that we're practicing on. We call into the space our descendants. We call into the space all beings from all over, including plant consciousness and animal spirit consciousness, to hold these prayers as we offer them on behalf of this collective. We begin by offering prayers for friends and Sangha siblings, FL, NS, MW, RJ, and especially SK, who has been detained by ICE. May SK be released soon and granted asylum. For Sudan, Palestine, Yemen, the Congo, gender expansive folks, and everyone experiencing violence, grief, and oppression. Offering prayers for Sudan and Sudanese civilians who are suffering forced displacement and other forms of violent aggression. May they find a sanctuary. May they love and kindness. May they feel our loving solidarity. Offering prayers for the babies being born into devastating circumstances in Palestine, Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Libya, and the Ukraine. Offering prayers for Leonard Peltier and his dear ones. May he be free, may he know peace and enjoy his friends, family, and the sunshine. And offering prayers that the members of the parole board will open completely and they will feel certain that free Leonard Peltier is absolutely best for him. To free Leonard Peltier is absolutely best for him and all beings. Offering prayers that Netanyahu be held meaningfully accountable in our time and may accountability that transcends the limits of incarceration take shape. Offering prayers for Bob, who died yesterday after nearly 40 years of acute confusion and suffering. May he have relief from his pain and fixation. May he be surrounded by all of his protectors, and wherever he goes now, prayers that he feels love and freedom, and prayers for his family that they may be free from the pain, confusion, sorrow that they've experienced for these 40 years. Offering prayers for Cynthia and her trip through the Bardo, prayers for all who deeply miss her. Offering prayers for Richard and his brand new recovery from addiction, for his clarity and steadfastness, and prayers for me that he resign gracefully as my trustee and return to me all of my money, and prayers for my own courage, confidence, and faith as I navigate the experiences with him, or instead with an attorney. Please, benefactors, help me. Offering prayers for me and my sisters for our mental and physical healing. Offering prayers for me to find a good job that is long term fit and pays well. Prayers for all of those fighting and experiencing oppression. Offering prayers for wisdom to know what is for me and what should pass by me. Offering prayers for Elle to feel loved, safe, and secure, and rooted in abundance. Offering deep gratitude to Medicine Buddha for hearing our prayers for our dear pet, Cat Soup, who came through surgery well today. Prayers for my beloved brother and his wife as she faces the end of this lifetime after a long battle with cancer. Prayers for my beloved wife and I that we see through this difficult time in our partnership with love, compassion, and growth toward one another. Prayers for my beloved family as they navigate living with depression and anxiety. Offering prayers for Lydia Matheny and her securing her home she is currently living in for the long term and winning her court case, and for all those facing displacement or potential displacement from their homes. Offering prayers for Jay for continued easeful healing from surgery, and for R for continued healing and ease following a stroke. Offering prayers for clarity, trust, and courage for myself on this path. I pray for all beings suffering in this moment. May we all be free and remember that we are already free. Prayers for myself to open up to love, even when deeply hurt, to have the strength and courage to ask for care and support. Offering prayers for Monica H. and her family who have learned she has ovarian cancer this week. May the family have all the support they need to face this journey, and may Monica come through it cancer-free and have many more years with her beloveds. Offering prayers for me and Kaya that we may find sustainable employment soon. Offering prayers for Curry, Sharon, Steph, and Lori on their healing journeys. And gratitude for all I have. Offering prayers for Palestinian liberation, and everyone affected by deep trauma. Loka Samasta Sukini Bavantu. Prayers for Uncle T, who passed a few weeks ago. Prayers for freedom for everyone and for compassion for all beings. Prayers for all children everywhere, and for children mentally ill parents. May I, as one of those adult children, continue to release resentment and move towards liberation. Offering prayers for myself as I look into the family finances after my husband left and his alcoholism was revealed. Prayers that I find a way to make ends meet and that I don't need to make large changes. Offering prayers that my teen finds her footing and begins eating and caring for her body. Prayers that she finds something about life that engages her. Offering prayers we get through the summer and that I find more avenues for support. Offering prayers for my doggy, which is okay. Prayers to have courage and gentleness and to shake up this inertia. Prayers for my students. Prayers for myself to find right work, abundant resource, and stable income. Prayers for Kat as she grieves her longtime friend and for all the mamas bringing souls into the world. Prayers of uplift for each and every one of the desired outcomes that dear one has named for a dear one's son. Prayers for dear one's peace, nourishment, ease, and clarity. Prayers of healing for my father who underwent surgery today. May his energy and heart be restored and may he find ease in his recovery. Offering prayers as I learn to release the old wounds of attachment and welcome more gracious and spacious forms of unbounded love. Prayers for all those facing displacement and war. May they find spaces of safety, justice, peace, respite, and nourishment. Prayers of gratitude for every living being, past and present, whose life has created the conditions to continue seeking liberation. Prayers for confidence in embracing my agency as I practice and seek liberation. Prayers that L feels my appreciation. Prayers that P starts feeling better immediately. Offering prayers for my mom. May she allow herself to open up to the possibility of allowing more help and support in her life. Prayers for my ongoing cancer treatment and for my energy. Prayers for my brother Michael and for my friend Richard. May they experience healing and freedom. Prayers for those prayers for those who hunger and thirst. Prayers for FST, my son, may he receive grace and favor. He incurred charges related to resisting arrest while in a mental health crisis. May the charges be dropped. May he be healed from self-harm he endured and those who also endured harm and hurt. May the officers in the legal system have a change of heart and show favor toward him. May he be surrounded and protected by his healed ancestors, guides, and protectors and all beings. May our community of collective and mutual care be held and loved. May this prayer be extended to all beings who need it. Offering prayers for Lama Rod, may he be protected and receive everything he needs. Offering prayers for my wife as she works through her depression, for our relationship and for myself to be supported as I hold her and our daughter. Prayers that there may be a shift in the relationship with my parent so that it may be less difficult and more helpful for all of us. Prayers that Gisela may recover from addiction. Prayers for RS, AW, SH, DG, FC, and all those needing physical healing. All in my workplace and my Aunt Lynn who need peace and mental change and healing. Offering prayers that the family I am fundraising for in Gaza gets my many donations, meets their goal very soon, and can evacuate and they can return to a free Palestine. Palestine will be free. Offering prayers that I can find the courage to trust people once more. Offering prayers for protecting and providing mental clarity and fortitude for my son Mateo and myself as we navigate difficult life challenges, escaping domestic violence and child abuse. Please send us loving kindness. Prayers for our family of origin to be free from delusions, for them to find a connection to their real soul, existence, and divine purpose, sending them all loving kindness. Offering prayers for our elected officials to be free from delusions and for them to find a connection to their real soul, existence, and divine purpose, sending them all loving kindness. Prayers for my brokenheartedness for this new possible relationship that appears to be ending before it even gets going. I want to call in my life partner and also want to know how not to cling to ideas, stories, or desires and allow for what arises to teach me. Prayers that I can move through this and so can this lovely man that I am attempting to dance with. May we fall apart together and come back into wholeness, and may the work serve the greater good for all. And offering prayers for my heart, my housemates, repair in my home, prayers for safety and holding for all of us. Offering prayers for recently deceased brother, Richard. May his journey through the bardo be more peaceful and easy than his existence in this realm has been. May he finally be free. Prayers for my son who remains in jail awaiting trial for 2.5 years now. May we find legal representation to help him be free and with his family. Offering prayers for our sadness, may we experience sustainable happiness. Offering prayers that those who are able to start masking again to show solidarity with immune compromised and disabled folks, prevent stigmatization, and fight against mask bans who would target Black, Muslim, and Palestinian community members. Prayers that there will be no mask ban in New York State. May I be healed. And pray, may I remember the medicine that I am light. May I integrate this healing so I can carry this medicine forward for others. May I remember my heart. May I continue to keep my heart open and shine everything with love. May I remember to allow the medicine to remove the old programming and keep my soul in my body. Prayers for Herbert Bednarz, who entered the Bardo recently. Prayers for myself, Courtney, and my clients, Tiffany and her daughters. Prayers for Shay and those that grieve their death. Offering prayers that my knee will heal more quickly and to not feel discouraged about the process. Prayers for peace with the time and energy this requires to give myself permission to rest. Prayers that the projects I am involved with for the benefit of others will bear fruit. Prayers that all anxieties can be reduced, that we can feel loved and loving. Offering prayers for all the animals during the upcoming heat wave here in the Northeast. Prayers that they may find water and respite from the heat. Prayers for the end of forms of extraction that cause such suffering. Prayers that I may be honest and unafraid in the work of healing myself. Prayers for my beloved engaged in similar work. Prayers for Lama Rod's liberation. Prayers for the violence to end and for my practice to sustain me, Asheo. Prayers for my mom that she is cured and healed from the cancer, that she has many years with me. Prayers for my own release of guilt and pain as an only child and long-distance caregiver. Prayers that I don't lose myself in this capitalist system and that my practice keeps me whole. Prayers that my sister returns to our family whole and that we can find forgiveness and healing. And I continue to offer prayers for David for full recovery, and also offer prayers for Shelley and for Andy for their deep healing and liberation from their experiences of suffering. And I pray for their families as well, that their families have what they need to caretake for them as well. I continue to offer prayers for the liberation of all beings from suffering, for the complete abolition of all systems of violence and harm. And I pray for our capacity to hold, to be with, and even to mourn everything that doesn't make sense, that everything that feels as if it is out of our agency, that we have the grace and the capacity to hold and to keep our hearts open as well. And may we all get free and be free as quickly as possible as well. May all of this be so. So again, returning our attention back into our mantra work. And again, as we often do, imagining that this radiance from Medicine Buddha radiating through our body begins to also radiate from our bodies, as if we are becoming like the sun or the moon, radiating light, right, into the darkness of confusion, the darkness of fear, anxiety, of chaos. And let us simply be and sit within this expression of radiance from Medicine Buddha. We continue. O te anda begenze wa begenze razu sumungate soa. Te anda begenze wa begenze razu sumungate So, returning your attention to the heart center to this expression of Medicine Buddha, we imagine that the Medicine Buddha in our heart centers begins to actually radiate this kind of field of white light just around us, as if it's becoming like a barrier or a shield or something. And I pray to Medicine Buddha on our behalf that this light, this expression becomes a shield or a protection for us as we begin to finish up our practice. And may this shield guide us, may it protect us, may it clear our way, may it light our path. And may we maintain the deepest trust in Medicine Buddha's capacity to be a protector as well as a healer. May we feel the deep embrace of not just Medicine Buddha, but all the Buddhas and all the Bodhisattvas who are committed to our freedom from suffering. And while this shield of light around us is maintained, we imagine that the Medicine Buddha in our heart centers begins to dissolve back into the elements that formed them, letting the fire return to the heat of our bodies, the water return back to the moisture, the fluid of our bodies, letting the air return back to our breath, letting the earth return back into our bodies. And when you're ready, returning your attention back to the seat. Noticing the weight of our bodies in the seat rising to hold us. And slowly beginning to reawaken your body through simple movements and deep breath. Shake it off, as Mariah Carey has taught us. Shake it off. And we turn our attention to the chat box. And where you'll find
Shanti Deva.
yeah, Shanti Deva, right? That girl. I forgot her name, honey. So, I was like, what is she called? Okay. It's that point in pride where it's just like sometimes I just like don't understand how being this gay is like sustainable. It's too much. Let me focus again. So we're gonna recite this 3 times together, okay? Here we begin. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader of those who journey in a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as Earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. And finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed, just like space and the great elements such as earth. I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, and until they pass away from pain, I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. Okay, friends. Thank you all so much for your practice today, and um, happy Juneteenth as well as we come up to Juneteenth, and feel free to spend the day contemplating liberation, right? And also for those of us whose ancestors this holiday theoretically is supposed to support, may you be at ease and rest. And may we take as much rest as possible in honor of our ancestors who had no choice, right? And may our rest free our ancestors from their trauma and their suffering as well. Um, yeah, and may it be so. You know? So thank you, everyone. I'll see you next week.